We continue now at the top of Daf Yud Zayin Amar Aleph and Mesechet Kesuvos. This is Kesuvos Daf 17a. The Bryce here continues. Beis Shammai say, how do we dance in front of the Kala? Kala Kamoshi, we say whatever the Kala actually is. Rashi over here says, Lefi Yofya v'chashivus Mekal Sano, so we praise her according to her beauty and her chashivus. Beis Hillel Omrim and Beis Hillel say, Kala Noah v'chasuda. Rashi says, chasuda means chut shel chesed moshe choleh, means to say there's like a thread of kindness over her. In other words, we say the Kala is beautiful and the Kala is charming. Amru lehen Beis Shammai le Beis Hillel. So Beis Shammai, they said to Beis Hillel, Harei shaisa chigeres osuma, what if she would be lame? What if she would be blind? Omrim la kala noah v'chasuda. You would say to such a kala that she's kala noah v'chasuda. V'hatorah amra midvar sheker tirchak. Doesn't the Torah say that a person is not supposed to lie? So Amru lahem Beis Hillel Beis Shammai. So Beis Hillel, they said to Beis Shammai, L'divrechem, according to you, Misha lokach mekach ro. Let's say somebody buys a purchase and it's something bad that they purchased. Minashuk, from the marketplace. Yishavchenu beinav o yiganenenu beinav. What do? Do you praise the item or you denigrate the item? Haviyomer yishavchenu beinav. Of course, what you're going to do is going to praise it. Mikan amru chachamim. And from here, the chachamim say, Liolam teidaito shalodam ureves imabrios. A person has to get along well with people. So in other words, the same idea, just like when somebody buys something from the marketplace, you're going to say it's a good purchase. So too over here, a person has to be kind, and we say kala noah v'chasuda. And the Gemara continues, Kiyasa Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi came, talking about the fact that when Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, Omar, he said, Hachi mishru kame kalsu b'ma'aravi. Here's how they dance in front of the Kala in the west, in Eretz Yisrael, and they say, Lo kachal v'lo sarach v'lo pirchus. Rashi over here says, Lo kachal, inat tzricha kachal. It means she doesn't need any paint on the eyes. V'lo sarach tzeva hamadim esaponim. She doesn't need blush. Pirchus kliyasar, seir, she doesn't need to have braiding of the hair. Without any of these things, v'yalis chein, and still she finds favor. And the Gemara continues, Kisamchu Rabbanan le Rabbi Zeira, when the Rabbanan give smicha to Rabbi Zeira, Sharu lehachi, they saying to him the following. Same basic idea, lo kachal, velo surak, velo pirchus, doesn't need to have any eye paint, doesn't need to have any blush, doesn't need to have any braiding of the hair, v'yalis chein, and still, even without all of the trappings, so to speak, still he finds favor. And the Gemara continues, Ki samchu Rabbanan le Rabbi Ami, Rabbi Asi, when the Rabbanan gave smicha to Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi, Sharu luhachi, they sang to them as follows, Kol min dein v'chol min dein, all people who are like this, all people who are like this, smochu lana, these are the people that should get smicha. Lo sismechu lana, don't have smicha for those, lo min sarmisin, v'lo min sarmitin, v'amri lo min chamisin, v'lo min tormisin. We'll take a look at Rashi over here. Rashi says, Kol min dein, kol kemos elu, if people are like this, so havi somchin lanu, the Kroson Rebbe, those are the people we want to call Rebbe. V'lam knows some dayanim, those are the ones that we want to appoint dayanim, but not from the sarmisin. Rashi says, what's sarmisin? Misarsin halachas behepech tamei, and in other words, they twist around the halacha and they give the wrong reasoning. Sarmitin is lashon samartutin, it means to say like the rags. We don't want people who are like rags, meaning to say having little worth. Chamisin, what is that? Omrim chamishes hatam, those are people that they say just 1/5 of the reason. They don't provide the full reason. Tormisin, Rashi says, first lo isparish. We don't know exactly what tormisin means. It's added in over here in Rashi. Tormisin ki ahi damar bevreshis rabba al tormisin lemikrav lemesana demachunisa anoshim reikonim. It means to say empty people. None of those people, those empty people as well, they should not be from the ones who get smicha. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Avo, ki hava asim imesifta levei Kesar, when Rabbi Avo went from the yeshiva to the house of the Caesar, nafkon amasa devei Kesar, so the matrons of the Caesar came out, la'aped to greet him, umashrin lehachi, and they would sing to him as follows, Rabba diameh umedabrona du'umse, he's like the leader of his nation, botzina denahora, he's like a light, he's like a shining candle, brich masiach l'shalom, and your coming, you should be blessed in peace. And the Gemara continues, Amru alav al Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi, they said about Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi, shayanot al bad shel hadas, he would take a myrtle branch, umaraked lefnei hakala, and he would dance in front of the kala, v'yomer, and he would say, kala no v'chasuda, how beautiful and how charming is the kala. And the Gemara continues, Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak meraket atlos. Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak, he would juggle 3 of these myrtle branches in front of the kala. Amar Rabbi Zeir, Rabbi Zeir said, Kamachsef lan saba, the elder, he's embarrassing us, meaning to say he's not acting appropriate for his stature. Kinach nafshe, but when he died, meaning when Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak died, ifsek amuda denura bein didei lekuli alma, there was a pillar of fire that separated him from the rest of the people. Ugmiri, and there's a tradition, the lo ifsek amuda denura ela ila chad bedara, ila tre bedara, we don't have this pillar of fire. It doesn't come down maybe for once in a generation, maybe twice in a generation, meaning to say that it indicated that in fact Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak was a great person. Amar Rabbi Zera, and so then Rabbi Zera said, Ahanya le shutise l'saba, these myrtle branches, they helped the elder. In other words, this was a good thing that he did in front of the Kala. There are some other versions of what Rabbi Zera said. V'amri lo, some say as follows, shetuse l'saba, it meant the shtus, the fact that he acted in this kind of crazy manner, it helped him because he was, again, being mesameach the Kala. V'amri lo shitase l'saba, and some people say it's shitase l'saba, meaning to say that his shita, the way he acted, the way he behaved, again, this was a beneficial thing. And the Gemara continues, Ravacha markiv lo akasvei maraked. Ravacha, he used to take the kala and he would ride her around on his shoulders and he would dance with her. Amri le Rabbanan, so the Rabbanan said to him, Anon ma'u l'miyavet hachi, what about us? Are we allowed to do that? Amar Luhu, so he said to them, if the caliph, she is to you just like a beam, meaning you don't think about it, it's not something that's going to create bad thoughts, then it's fine. Vilolo, but if not, then it's not okay. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar Rav Yonasan, Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani said in the name of Rav Yonasan, Mutter lehistakel b'fnei kala kol shiva. You can look at the face of the kala for all 7 days. Kedei lechabev al baila. That's a way of making her beloved to her husband. If the husband sees everybody's looking at her, so then she's also going to find favor in his eyes. But the Gemara says v'les hilchas hakavase, but this is not the halacha. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Ma'avir nes hameis milifnei kala. You can take away the mace from in front of the kala, meaning to say that let's say you have a situation of a hotzoas hameis and you have a kala coming out, so you can take the mace on a different path to keep the mace away from the kala. V'zeh milifnei melech Yisrael, and both of them should take a different path if there's a king coming by. But Amru olav al Agrippas hamelech, but they said about King Agrippas, she'avar milifnei kala. On the contrary, he actually went a different route. He passed because of the kala. V'shibchu chachamim, and the chachamim praised him for this. Gemara says Shibchu, they praised him, Mechlal the shaper of it. That sounds like he did the right thing. But is that really appropriate? Can a king really be mochel on his covet in that fashion? V'yomer Ravashi, but Ravashi said, Afilo l'man domer nasi shemochel al kavodo mochel. Even the one who says that a nasi who forgives his honor, so he's allowed to do that. But melech shemochel al kavodo, but if a king forgives his honor, ain't kavodo mochel, the honor is not forgiven. The Yomar Mar, because the master said, Som Tasim Alecha Melech, it says, Som Tasim, a double language of place upon you a king, and we darshan from that, Shetehei Maso Alecha, that his fear should be upon you. And so the Gemara answers, Parshas Derachim Havoy, over there actually was a separation of the road, and therefore, it was not clear that he was doing this because of the Kala. He may have just been taking a different route, and so that's not a problem for a king to do. And Rashi over here explains, Ma'avirin Keshakala Yotzmi Beis Avil Beis Chasunas, it means, let's say the Kala is leaving her father's house, going to the wedding, and then also there are people carrying a mace that are going out. And by both of these events, there's many people. They don't want to all mix together. So you actually have to take the mace on a different road. That's the idea. Again, that's talking about whether you can be mochel on cover or not. We have this double language, som and tosim. Kilomar means to say, you have to place the king upon you. His fear should be on them. Therefore, his honor is not forgiven. That's why it says simos many times. Parshas Derachim Have, again, there was a split in the road. It wasn't clear that the king was doing that because of the kala. It could be that it looked like he needed to go in a different direction. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Mevatel in Talmud Torah lahotzoas hameis ulachnasas kala. Or even mevatel Torah, we stop learning Torah if we need to take out and bury the dead, take care of the dead, or again also for wedding for the purposes of the kala. Amru olav al Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Eloi, they said about Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Eloi, shayim mevatel Talmud Torah lahotzoas hameis ulachnasas kala, again that he would be mevatel Torah for hotzoas hameis and achnasas kala. Now, when is all of this true? When you don't have enough people taking care of it. But if there's enough people taking care of the need already, so ein mevatel, and so then you're not allowed to be mevatel because there's enough people, let's say, at the funeral. And the Gemara says, well, what's considered the amount that's actually needed. For a funeral, what's an appropriate number? Amar Rav Shmuel Bar Ini Mishmei de Rav. Rav Shmuel Bar Ini says in the name of Rav, Treser Alfe Gavri, it's 12,000 people, Veshisa Alfe Shipure, and 6,000 people blowing the shofar. The Amri Law, some have a slightly different version. Telesar, now they changed this from Telesar to Tresar. Tresar Alfe Gavri, it's 12,000 people. Uminayu, and of the 12,000, Shisa Alfe Shipure, 6,000 with shofars. Ula Amar Ula says, Kegon Dechaitzi Gavri, Me'avula V'yatzircha. What it means is it has to be enough people that they go from the gate of the city all the way to the area of the burial. Rav Sheishas v'itema Rav Yochanan Amar Rav Sheishas, and some people say Rav Yochanan says Nitilasa kinisinasa. The taking of the Torah should be the same thing as the giving of the Torah. Nitilasa means the taking, meaning when the person dies, he can no longer learn. That should be the same amount of people there as at the giving of the Torah. Man nisinasa b'shishim ribo, just like the Torah was given with 600,000. Af nitilasa b'shishim ribo. So too, the taking of the Torah when a person dies, it should be 600,000. V'hani mili laman dekari v'tani. Now that's for a person who reads Psukim and learns Mishnah. As Rashi says, Avol adayin lo shana l'talmida, but he hasn't taught the students yet. He's learned for himself. We'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Yud Zayin Amud Beis.